All right, it's 11:50, so we have a special announcement.
Hey, thanks, Craig. I am LaDawn Weston. I have the privilege of being here to sponsor this great presentation from Connectable. My name is LaDawn Weston, and also I used to work for C9 here in Indiana before I moved to Utah and had to leave C9, but seriously, Connectable saved our bacon right before COVID, and we were able to enroll all of our students.
Nice, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a personal connection with them. So we're excited to sponsor this session. Just being being with you guys is a privilege for us. We've spent years developing tools for you guys to use with your students, and we just want to make sure that we are providing those tools for you, but we also know that the tools are just one piece of working with your students. You guys are here to learn about workforce and providing those next steps for your students. And we do have some tools to provide for you guys, work essentials, money essentials, computer essentials, and college essentials. And we'd love to talk to you guys at our booth. We also have some guides that we provide. We've got 3 guides that we're giving away this year, a value of $49.99. So come by and get a free guide. I've got a ticket here for you. You can bring that by to get a free guide. So I'll pass these out. I'm going to turn the time over to Craig, and then I'll hand these out on my way out. Thanks.
Thank you, and give us a round of applause. They're a great partner of Connectable, so we're really excited to have them too. And thank you for the kind words. I didn't expect that. I'm really not presenting Connectable. I am talking about running toward workforce relevance, and today we're going to talk about how you can better align your programs to the workforce and really understanding those career pathways, hopefully give you some tips, and I'll talk a little bit about what we do as well. But it is intended to be a practical session, so I hope that we have some good dialogue as well, and excited to go through that. If you're attending on Zoom, we appreciate you being there as well. The setup here, just so you know, is not even my laptop sitting on a podium, and I've tried to position the computer so hopefully you can kind of see me, but you should at least be able to see the screen and hear us okay, and I'll come back at the end and go through some questions if you have those as well. So feel free to put those into the chat, and again, I'll kind of hit those at the end. And for you all attending here in person, howdy, glad to have you all. My name's Craig, and like she had said, I work for Connectable. So raise your hand if you're a Connectable member. We got some of those I see, mostly all on this side of the room. That is creepy, guys. I don't know how you did that. But excited for that. We love our members, and happy to share with you all a little bit about who we are and what we do as well. The workforce and workforce development is a bit of a strange world, right? And we know that for adult ed, that's looking more and more like everyone's future, as we are expected to fall under fully the Department of Labor in the coming year. Many states are already there and have been for a long time. I was in a presentation this morning, and I see Laura back there, who is the presenter. Did you say that Indiana has been in the Department of Workforce Development since 2011? Correct. Is that right? So 2011, that's a long time. I also work up in Iowa. They've been making that transition since I had started working up there, so I've watched that kind of evolve. So raise your hand if you are under the Department of Workforce Development or its equivalent in your state. So about half, and then the rest, I'm assuming, are still under Department of Education. Is that right? Anybody not under one of those categories? Anybody an oddball? Now, I know some of you are oddballs, but maybe not for that reason. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump in. So we're asking this question. Is your program keeping pace? Because things are changing, and they're changing fast. And I want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to be ready for that, and that you build the relationships that help you with that as well. The industry itself, it's changing. And we know with artificial intelligence, for example, that the jobs are changing quickly as well. And that's not new, and it's not a surprise, and it's happened a million times before. I always tell the story that I wasn't allowed to use a calculator growing up. I wasn't allowed to use one in my house until I got into algebra, and then I was limited to just using a TI-30, and I still have it, and it's still a friend of mine. But for the most part, that technology, it changed the way that we respond, even in the workplace. And I think today, people would probably struggle without the use of a calculator. And in the classroom, they're struggling as well. So in the workplace, we know that the way that we've always done it, the way that traditional curriculum flows, is not working for our students to prepare them for the future jobs and what the workforce is going to look like in the future. I tell my students that the career that they are going to end up in probably doesn't exist yet. And I actually believe that, because I think that what we're going through is an evolution of the workplace, and we've been through it with the invention of the computer, and many people saw that come and go as well. I was teaching a student of mine who happened to be 96 years old, and she was telling me that in her early days in the office, she actually used a physical workbook and actual spreadsheets. And she had to explain it was like a giant notebook, and it had all of these rectangles on it, and her formulas were calculated by hand. That seems crazy to me today in the world of spreadsheets and databases. But that job, it came and went, because by 1982, every computer had a spreadsheet program on it. So all those people that had that skill in the past, they didn't just suddenly go away. They retrained, they reskilled. That student, her name is Dr. Verdelis Carter. She has since passed away. She was actually a founder of Indiana University here at Indianapolis' School of Nursing. And she was also the first female dean of that university. She didn't let something like a spreadsheet going away just stop her career or stop her life. She continued to retrain and go back to school and do things that were really unique and new. And I think that adult education is positioned to do just that for the future workforce, and I hope that you agree. So we want to make sure then that we're focused on the fact that right now what we're doing is changing, and that the credential might actually be a little bit misaligned, meaning we might be preparing them for a world that was really relevant yesterday and maybe today, but the skills are changing so much that it may be irrelevant tomorrow. So learners themselves are graduating with qualifications that simply don't match the hiring manager's actual needs that they're seeking. And we want to change that. And then missed partnerships. Programs themselves often operate in what I consider to be the island of isolation. Sometimes you look at your coworkers and you think it's better described as the island of misfit toys, but I assure you it sometimes feels more isolated than that. We would love to have a toy on our team, but instead, we're not really sure what's happening outside of our doors, outside of our students. Meaning, we're not as well connected to the employers, to the workforce, and to the partners that could exist in our community as we really need to be if we're going to be training their future employees. So programs that are operating in isolation, it really means that they're operating without employer feedback, and those feedback loops that are keeping the instruction relevant. So, when's the last time that you sat down with your key manufacturers and listed out all of the soft skills that were needed? When's the last time that you did that? Some of you never? Raise your hand if it's been monthly. You meet with them monthly. 1. Quarterly. 2. 3. That's not very often, really, considering how quickly things are changing. So we want to illustrate that if we are educating that workforce and that next population of great employees, shouldn't we be talking to the people that are looking to hire them now or in the future? The soft skills, the hard skills, the tangible things that they're going to need to know. So that's where we're headed today. So today's session, we're looking to give you those tools that are going to help close those gaps for good. Because it is a mindset, a way of thinking that's going to change. So today we're going to read the labor market. We're going to learn how to use that real-time data that's available to be able to identify those emerging skills that are in demand within your area, within your region. We're going to integrate employer voice itself. We need to build that feedback loop that I was talking about. So structures that bring industry partners into the curriculum design process and into the curriculum decisions. We need to redesign with agility, applying micro-credentialing and modular design so that programs become responsive. Just an example, and I'll show you this example in our case study today, but our current administration said that basically all professional drivers needed to prove English proficiency. They told us that on a Thursday at an 8 p.m. press release. And at 8 a.m. Friday morning, Connectable rolled out a CDL with English language proficiency micro-credential. We had people that stayed up all night writing curriculum, getting the test prep, and ready for students to take it. Your program needs to be able to respond on a whim sometimes, but certainly on a dime, to what you're being instructed to do. We don't have time to develop for 6 months or for next year's curriculum. If something is changing in your program now, we need to be responsive now. So if you're getting feedback that people keep taking the tape and their reading scores are 2 points low, what's your curriculum doing about it? How responsive is it? Has it changed today based on that feedback? Or are you waiting for the next edition to roll out? We're also then going to talk about launching career-ready learners. That's different than just simple graduates or people that are completing the program. But career-ready learners, they're sending graduates with credentials to employers that are recognized by the employer. And in order to make that happen, that means you've got to know your employers well. You've got to sit down with them and go through the curriculum and say, what is it that we could do specifically for your future employees? What do you need from our program? What questions are asking? What lessons are missing? What soft skills need developed? What hard skills need to be embedded into our curriculum? And then we want to make sure that your program is capable of doing just that. So, we're going to start by reading the labor market. What this looks like is looking at what's happening using data. And do we have data people in here? People that love the numbers and charts and graphs and spreadsheets and reports? We have one. Great. Yeah. That's the reality. It's usually not people's first love. And it's something that I geek out about. I'm a certified quantitative research methodologist. I've got hundreds of things published. It's so fun for me. And that's why I can bore a lot of people when I talk. So I try really hard in these presentations to sound somewhat social normal. But the labor market itself, that intelligence, is the foundation of what future line curriculum looks like. We've got to dive into the data. And if you're not a data person, you need to understand how to narrate the story, how to have social conversation with employers that gather the feedback without the number. Just tell me, what is it that you're looking for? What types of lessons need to be embedded into that curriculum? Stop guessing what the employers need and start listening to what the data is telling you. And who holds the data? The employer holds the data. You cannot do this alone. We cannot fall under Department of Labor without including all of those people that are part of the labor force, and that includes our hiring people. So, real-time job posting information. I hope you're looking, or that you have some software that's telling you how many jobs are posted in your zip code, how many jobs are posted in each sector, and that's something that you talk about probably weekly, if not more often. But always looking at what jobs are out there. Track which skills are appearing most in those job postings. And again, there's lots of AI you can use that you just say, hey, scan the help wanted ads, look at what's on Indeed, and tell me what skills are being highlighted this week. The thing that you'll probably be surprised on is that they change week to week. So you want to start to look at those skills and to see what are the employers saying. And there are some other really good programs out there. I, for example, used to work in another world with a program called Work Keys. Some of you may be familiar with that or even use that. They also integrate into Connectable, so we still work closely. But before all that, I was bringing them to Indiana. I was bringing them to Iowa and other states like Alabama. And as they integrate those programs, they're trying to do that work for you. They're meeting with employers. They're gathering this information. They're creating assessments that help you figure out that real-time job posting data. They are also looking at sector growth projections. So identifying industries yourself that are adding jobs and then thinking, what are the credentials that they offer? But also, how long will they be adding jobs? Is this a one-time thing? Is it to get us by until the robot can do it? These are the questions that you want to ask the employers. What does your hiring look like today? But also, what's the plan for the future? Are you looking a year ahead? Because I can prepare students, usually within 3 or 4 months, I can get some students out that door and into the curriculum, right? So what does it look like in the next 6 months, in the next year? What about the next 3 years or 5 years? Does that employer have a plan? Are they able to talk about what it looks like in their labor market within that sector 3 years out? Probably not, because many of them are very uncertain about what the industry is going to do and how it's going to change. We start to open up those questions, they start to respond, and then we become the expert, so they start coming to us for the students, for their employees. They start referring to the adult ed program first. And that's how you become, in your community, the first choice for employment. That they come to seek out those adult learners because they know that you've prepared them for their future skill set. And then we also need to consider wage and credential mapping. Where's the money, right? And I'm sure you get that question all the time from your students is, how much does that field pay? Well, how much does that one pay? Well, what do you want to be? Let's not worry about what I want to be. Let me just see what it pays. If it's welding, oh yeah, I'll do that. It's $30 an hour. You have no mechanical skill set, no blue-collar work experience. I don't know if that's going to work for you, but that's where the money is. So sometimes that leads the way. So we want to start thinking about how are we going to connect specific certifications to those measurable wage gains. And there's some great examples of employers that say, we will hire you, and when you complete the program at adult ed for this credential, you get an increase, or you get a promotion, you get a title change. That's what they're looking for, a future. And they've already somewhat had a past usually. At least in the 15 years that I was in that office, my students almost always had a past. A story that involved losing a career, having to retrain, losing employment, getting to a point of reentry back into society. Whatever the circumstances were, there was a story. And my goal was always, how am I going to add something to their story that makes that a success story? How are we going to change that conversation? So we've got to bring employers into the room if we're even going to have the conversation. It begins with having roundtable discussions, advisory boards. You can't really design curriculum without employer input. And I know this firsthand as somebody that designs hundreds of courses a year, that if it were up to me, I wouldn't talk to anybody. But it's not, so I have to sit and talk to everybody. And I mean industries that I know nothing about. And you may not know anything about them either. And I found for myself that the best way to get into those industries is to let them know, what you do is completely foreign to me. I would love to learn about your business. Show me around. Take me on a tour. This is fascinating because I don't know anything about it. What do the people do here? What do the people need to work here? How much do they make? What's the career progression look like? What's the average length of time that somebody spends in their current role before they're promoted or before they leave the company? What's the satisfaction look like for your employees? Are they engaged? Are they actually tracking that? What I find is that oftentimes some of the questions that I ask, they do go unanswered. And then I am able to provide resources to them. I can say, well, why don't I send out an employee or create with you an employment engagement survey? And adult ed could come in and maybe do a quick workshop. Give us 30 minutes and we'll talk to your employees about artificial intelligence. Or we'll talk to them about English language proficiency. We can have industry speakers come in for you because we're well connected now with other businesses. That's what we're looking for at these meetings. Structuring that feedback loop, it's going to transform the partnership. So an advisory board, that's something that could look like just convening quarterly. Getting people together to sit around the table, have a chance to report out. I always view the advisory board as an opportunity to listen as an adult ed provider and an opportunity for the industry to report out. Give them time to go one by one around that table, sharing, what do you do? What do you need from us this week? How can us in the community support you? And it's pretty interesting because then they start asking you those same questions. And it does give you an opportunity to say, you know what, we need funding. We need people, we need employers that want to contribute to the training dollars or to supply us with a faculty member. Because I would love to get you more CNC operators. The problem is, I don't have anybody to do it. And I need you to help recruit the students as well. So we start to create this energy within our community. The workplace site visit, I mentioned going on the tour, sitting down talking to them, but it can't just happen once. It's something that you have to regularly go and visit. You should see them once or twice a year on their turf. Going into the employer, setting it up where you don't seem like a stranger. Your hope is that you can come back to them and they can say, oh yeah, I remember you. You were here a few months ago. You're the one that had the question about this, or you were really interested in what we were building over here. Now it's done. Why don't you come see it? And that's how you know is that you continuously show up so you do know what's going on here. You're aware and you're able to follow up and ask questions about, hey, you mentioned that you were hoping to break a record next quarter. Did you do it? Congratulations. Does that mean that you need more people? Are you still growing? How can I help you? What can I tell other people in our community that might help your business? When you become that servant leader in that adult ed program, the whole community rallies around you. And your program will grow tremendously. Not just the number of students, but the number of success stories and the number of dollars. I'm sure that in this room, none of you will raise your hand for this question. But have you ever had a problem with funding? See, I knew nobody would have that problem. You don't need the employer support. You don't need to figure out the new schools. Just keep doing what you're doing, right? But the reality is probably much different. The reality probably is that everybody's had that conversation of, how are we going to fund the students? How am I going to make payroll? I'm going to have to get rid of that lease, or I can't afford that curriculum. We've got to change the conversations in our communities to be able to change our future. And then hire the outcome tracking itself. Follow up with the graduates and the employers. Our system does this kind of for you for 3 years, where when somebody completes and they've gone through the graduation management system, you're able to track that student. Sending them reminders of continue your success story. How much are you making now? How do you receive your promotion? Are you ready to skill up? Are you ready for the next step in your educational journey? Maybe it's more career training. Maybe it's a seminar. Maybe you could come back and volunteer. I love when our students come back and are peer tutors or reading coaches. I think that's really cool because I think the best person that you can learn from is somebody that's been where you're at and understands where you're headed. So I know for us, like all of our employees are either people that have gone through adult ed themselves or have worked in adult ed because we need that experience. We need to know, what is it like to sit where they're sitting? It's uniquely challenging. Our employers probably don't know that, but some of their employees do. So you want to invite them in to your place as well. And that's the other step. Invite them to take a tour. Invite them to see your curriculum. Invite them to hear what your needs are and what they can do for you in the community as well. Micro-credentialing and modular design is our next topic. And what this looks like is starting here with some basic skills. It's the entry point. Basic skills are kind of relative, right? We think that as adults, they should have basic skills coming in the door. But we know, as adult ed providers, that that is just not the case, right? I know one of our employees, for example, when she came into adult ed, she did not know how to read. And she was already working in a management position for a restaurant. She was interviewing somebody who would later be a data analyst at adult ed. She was just faking it. She did not know how to read the interview questions. She was an adult who was illiterate. So she was sitting there with a piece of paper in front of her, looking down and pretending like she was reading, saying, "Tell me about your past employment. Tell me what your greatest strengths are." Just making it up based on experiences that she had had, questions she had encountered. But she wasn't reading the paper. That same person that she hired for that role taught her how to read. And she's here at the conference, which I think is really cool, because now she works for an adult ed program. And that person she taught to read now works for us in a management role. Because that's what adult ed does. And those stories happen every single day. And there's no stopping them. But it starts with the basic skills. And we can't go into it with judgment. But we do need to go into the employer conversations with education. The likelihood is they have somebody on their team that is not math proficient, is not reading proficient. I was working at a college, and I had just picked up on some things with our director of education. Something seemed off. They were highly intelligent, but something seemed off. And I kind of started to think about, what is it? What is it? And I thought, well, maybe it's vocabulary. There's times that I use words, and they just kind of look at me confused. So, in one of our coaching sessions, I gave the person a reading test. And at 37 years old, guess where they scored? What grade level? A director of education with a graduate degree. Shout it loud, where do you think?
Third grade.
I wish. Second grade. Second grade. Had made it through high school, university systems, graduate school, with the second grade reading level. And our coaching sessions changed. Our coaching sessions turned to literacy coaching. And we started reading and doing workbooks. And we didn't tell anybody about it. We just kept at it. Every day, 15 minutes at a time, 2 or 3 times a day in those chunks. And now that person is an award-winning professor at a top 10 business school, has published all sorts of things, won all kinds of awards, earned a doctorate degree, but it started at a second grade reading level. Never assume that this first step has been taken. Know that people are climbing this actively. Once we've taken care of the basic steps, the basic skills, we move on to the industry cert. Your curriculum can model that step by embedding those basic skills into the industry certificate. You don't have to wait. They can do it simultaneously. So these stackable credentials are important then. Suddenly we're taking somebody that maybe is interested, maybe they have CDLB, and they also need that English language proficiency. And once they get that, then we're ready to move them on to CDLA and change their life forever, right? So we can continue to build the credentials here until they're fully qualified. But fully qualified is also relative, because I have 8 degrees and I'm still in college. I don't think learning stops. There's always something I'm interested in, something I want to learn more about. Tara was in New Orleans at a conference. She's from Northwest Shoals, Alabama. And in a conference session, she texted me and said, "Do you have mechatronics?" And I'm like, "Sure. We got that." I didn't know what that was. But by the time she got out of the session, not only had I learned about it, I built a curriculum on it. And we had the first intro course ready to go in just about an hour and 10 minutes. Because that's how long the conference time was. You can learn anything. And I believe that our students can learn anything. I don't think there's limits for them. So full qualification, to me, inspires them that learning lasts forever. And that it's a continuous process. And that nothing stands in their way. that they can start from anywhere and go everywhere as long as they commit to education and as long as they learn that learning is just a process. But micro-credentials is important because adults learn best with small chunks often. And the best way to build self-confidence is actually goal achievement. So people that set goals frequently and achieve them go further and faster. Micro-credentials models that behavior. When they complete orientation, do you give them a certificate? Are they excited to attend the first day of school? And then do they leave there knowing that they accomplished something walking through those doors? Because it's scary. I've had students that have told me, I pulled up in the parking lot 9 times before I came in the door. 9 times I had a student that was in my parking lot before they ever walked in the door. What do you think I started doing after I learned that? Started going into the parking lot. I'd see somebody pull up, I'd go out, I'd open the door, I'd see if I can walk them in, I'd have an umbrella if it's raining, I'd bring a coat if it's cold. I'd ask them if they were there, I'd come out with canned goods and dry goods, and I'd say, were you here for our sharing shelf? Did you need some food? I'd have a gas card in my pocket, $5 a gallon. Sometimes that makes a difference for a student, because I've also had students this year that have told me I didn't make it to class because I didn't have the gas. And when I asked how far away do you live, 7 miles. I could have given them $4 and they could have made it to class for the week, but they didn't know that. So we're connecting. And who gives us those gas cards? We gave away $600,000+ in scholarships from Connectable last year. Every penny of it was from industry partners. Every penny of it was a corporate person in communities like yours that said, I want to see an adult student succeed. I want to see them get to class. I want to see them pay for gas or to eat, provide a meal for their family, to get over those barriers. And it comes with those partnerships. It comes with the confidence that micro-credentials can develop for them. Short-term success. So shorter pathways to employment for adult learners doesn't mean that we're just done with the student in 4 weeks. It means that we've created an energy that's going to keep going, because we know that the full qualification is realizing that learning lasts forever and can take you everywhere. So stackable credentials, they accumulate over time. Just like my degrees, they just keep getting more and more and more, and you keep learning new and new things, because the new skills never stop. Everyone's saying artificial intelligence is going to take 70+% of white-collar positions, entry-level jobs. Great. I can't wait to see what new jobs are coming. I can't wait to see what new industries come from that, what new skills are required. And I have some ideas that build into that curriculum. We've got to make sure that it's easier for employers to actually recognize and verify that those skills exist, which is why we build that total transcript, where the student has proof and certificates and things at hand, and that we're communicating with employers. Here's the curriculum. Remember, you sat around the table. You helped create the test questions. You participated in reviewing the textbook to tell us what is missing. And we created surveys for you that you also sent to your employers. They're working together to recognize and to verify. And then faster instructor response to the emerging skill gaps. That's what we talked about, where I find out at 8 o'clock and it's there by 8 a.m., right? You've got to be that responsive. When you see a test score continuously not be where it needs to be, we've got to change our approach. We have to change the curriculum. So, here's our connectable case study tools that we use. We provide a platform and framework, then specifically, it's the only platform, the only learning management system and student information system that's designed for and by adult educators. Everything else, a different way. K-12, college career, things like that. Ours specifically for adult. That means that it aligns directly with the workforce demands, with our students in mind. It brings together the data, the partnerships. Your employers can log into a portal and they can see things. You can see things. The reports, everything's there for you. The labor market intelligence tools for the curriculum planning, employer engagement and partnership management, credential tracking, learner outcome mapping, the ready to teach, employer-informed curriculum modules. That's the new stuff that some of you are waiting for, but it's here. We're demoing it at the booth. You're welcome to come check it out. But programs that are using Connectable, they simply move faster. They partner better. They graduate learners. We have the metrics. We've watched the states go from threats of federal government taking over their program to gaining 1, 2, and 3 spots. There's a reason for that, because the data is more accurate and the curriculum is more responsive. We're engaged with the employers and making it happen. Not just on paper, but it's what the employers are saying on the job that's making that true and making it successful. So, it's built for employer demand, and it's on demand. It's ready for them in that way. The system itself, it doesn't ask instructors to build from scratch. You can do that, but you can also just deliver employer-informed, career-connected curriculum that's ready to use from the day that you log in. And again, we'll be happy to show it to you. But a couple examples, ELL plus Civic Engage integration. That course set, it's for English language learners that are also looking to gain citizenship. And we know that's more important now than it's ever been before, is that people are prepared for that next step as they're learning our language. So we're integrating it into the ELL conversation, collecting the language acquisition and the civic participation, creating volunteer opportunities, getting them involved with service organizations like Lions International, Kiwanis, Rotary, Toastmasters, giving them the skills and the tools that are recognized here in America and throughout the world. We already talked about the CDL plus English language proficiency and also some sector-specific pathways. So from healthcare, the Certified Clinical Medical Associate, we've got our assistant, we've got the Child Development Associate, we've got construction and building trades, we've got the mechatronics now, we've got cybersecurity, we've got logistics associate, logistics technician, all of these different things, welding, ASC certification for mechanics, all sorts of curriculum ready for you, which is actually really important that we've sat with the employer to develop that, because it's saving you that time. But it's not an excuse for you not to meet with your local ones. It's actually just a bragging opportunity and an assurance for you. It's giving you something to sit down and talk to them about. Hey, I just have a new course. I wanted to share it with you. I know you're hiring mechanics. Let me show you our curriculum. What's missing? Would your dealership like to sponsor our program? We'd be happy to put your logo on there. If you're supporting students, if you're going to give them an interview, if they complete the certification, we can create partnerships, but we do have something to bring to the table. We're not always just a program begging and asking for everything. In fact, we have a lot we can offer our community. So, ELL classes that embed the civics, the design itself, again, it's the most powerful when it's connected by purpose. So we're using native language speakers to assist us in that process, weaving civics content into the ELL instruction itself. They don't just acquire English, they build the knowledge and the confidence to be able to pursue citizenship and the civic life. And we want them simultaneously seeing that achievement. So they get little micro-credentials along the way. What it looks like in real practice then is that vocabulary is drawn from the civic documents. So we're actually using the actual forms, the actual questions of naturalization to be able to start teaching in those words while they're learning conversation, while they're getting involved with their family, ordering food, and those sorts of things. They're reading passages, learning about U.S. history and rights and civic process, educating them. An educated society is intimidating, and we're okay with being a little intimidating at times. Preparation for that citizenship interview, embedded in speaking and in practice, and dual outcomes. Again, it's stacking those credentials. It's English proficiency and it's civic engagement. We also have the CDL training with the English proficiency, being able to read the safety materials, getting ready for DOT regulations, road sign literacy, understanding the differences. Even from state to state, there are different rules. Employer communication, building the vocabulary for dispatchers. That's one that's really critical in our world. But also logbooks and workplace interaction, and even dealing with traffic stops and how they're approaching way stations. These are skills that they need to be comfortable with. I was talking just yesterday to a person that owns a carnival, and they travel the country. And as they're bringing the carnival around, their big concern was all of our drivers come from a federal program where the federal government sponsors and assists in paying them, but all of the people are from Honduras or Guatemala. And they said, with the new rule, we don't know what to do. And luckily, with our long-term partnership, I've known these people for 30 years, we were able to provide this course to 200 people yesterday for free. Because that's what we're trying to do, is keep the roads safe for everybody, including the drivers, including you. So this is an example of the learning management system, what it looks like, how the books are embedded into it, the discussions, the instructions, everything's translatable, everything's ADA accessible. So if they need high contrast, low contrast, bigger text, being able to zoom in, these are the things that employers are looking for as well. If you come in and you educate them on, like, for example, is your website ADA compliant? Did you know that it has to be by April 24th? And then you're the adult ed person that says, we had somebody that actually graduated through web development and design. Let me connect you with them. They were one of our best students. They can help you with your website. Think about what that does to all of the small businesses in your community that maybe don't have a full-time web designer and maybe spending tons of money otherwise. It could be a real project for your class to help local businesses update their website to today's ADA standards. So that's just an example. Building agile programs then that anticipate the change. We talked about how important it is for your programs to sit down and talk about the future of the workforce with the employers themselves. But what do we do with that information after? Well, you've got to make sure that you're responsive. So, of course, first, we listen. And that's the important part. So there's quarterly employer check-ins, scheduling those structured touch points. Then we also need to analyze the situation and look at it compared to our curriculum. So we're analyzing to say, what did we hear and what do we have? Where's the gap and what am I going to do about it? So once we've done that, we're going to design something using modular curriculum units where we can swap out blocks and we can change things specifically for employers. And we can make it fit their unique need. So if you're dealing with somebody that does things a little bit different or they use a different brand of equipment, we can change in the textbook with just a click of a button the brand of that equipment. That sometimes is holding it back in your community. I remember that I had gotten a grant, and it was like an insane amount. I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was to purchase a forklift simulator. And we purchased the forklift simulator, and then we invited employers in. And one of the employers, and it's actually in the Area 30's community, is Crown Equipment. Crown builds forklifts. So we had a competing forklift simulator that was spent tons of money on with an employer in the community that was their competitor. How did that look? To sit there on a Yale when Crown is down the road. And we're trying to convince Crown, hey, sit on this forklift simulator. It's virtual and it can look just like Walmart distribution and the virtual reality headset. Oh yeah, the equipment, that's your competitor. And that same forklift simulator company, had we communicated better with that partner, they could have provided a Crown simulator. The brand matters. So who's in your community? What equipment and curriculum are you teaching? Do the examples reflect your community? Or are they talking about Safeway instead of Kroger? Are they talking about Meijer, but you live in Oklahoma, where they've got Target and Walmart, but they should be jealous because Meijer's great. And if you don't have a Meijer while you're in town, go check out Meijer. Also Menards if you're not from the Midwest. That's a great store too. So knowing and designing it specifically for what's in your community matters. If you've got a favorite restaurant, I've got a favorite restaurant everywhere I go. Anybody from like Memphis?
Yeah.
Memphis? Yeah? Been there? Well, I go to this place called Dale's. It's actually in South Haven, but if you're from Memphis, you know Dale's.
Yeah.
And I was meeting with somebody from Tyson. And the lady that worked in Arkansas for Tyson, she said, oh, I'm from Memphis originally. And I said, oh, do you know Dale's? And she goes, Dale's? Oh my gosh, that's my favorite restaurant. I had my high school open house at Dale's. It led to 3 more meetings at that corporate office. It led to 10 meetings, going plant to plant, talking about how their language learners could benefit from adult ed. We recruited hundreds of students that were in need. Why? Because I knew good food in a small place. Sometimes that's what it takes. So you have to have these conversations, and you customize that curriculum to meet that need. That's going to allow you then to keep track of your placement rates, your wage gains, your employer satisfaction, because you're talking to them. They know you. You go to Dale's. They're ready for it, and so are you. So, you strengthen these workforce partnerships. The first thing, of course, identify who are those key employers in your community. What is the regional growth sectors look like? What new businesses are coming? I hope you're talking to your economic development boards every week. I hope you're embedded into the Chamber of Commerce, the marketing associations, your school districts. I hope you're talking to everybody that knows what's coming to your community. Your county commissioners, your mayors, your township people, all of your politicians, even the ones that you would never vote for, that you have a working relationship that clues you in on where things are going in your world. That you engage, that you invite employers into advisory roles, have them serve on curriculum committees. They like titles, they like to feel special, bring them donuts. That's always a good way to get in. But encourage them to be a part of your adult ed world. Let them serve on a committee, even if it's a one-day, quick meetup, just to get the introduction. Hey, I'm just calling, I need somebody from your industry to represent our county adult ed program at a roundtable discussion next Saturday at 9 a.m. It's got the best donuts in town. Who are you going to send? Not will you come, who will you send? What's their phone number? What's their email? How can I ensure that it's on their calendar? Start that process of engagement. And then co-design. Again, sit down. Build the curriculum with the employer, or connect us with them. We'll build it for you, whatever it takes. But be a part of the process. Don't just leave them stranded. The isolation has to end, because we're an interconnected society. And the technology is only making it closer connected every minute of the day. And then sustain. You've got to be able to track all of those outcomes and report back. That's what becomes the narrative. That's what you want to be doing in the community. You want to be going and talking at public speaking events. And if you hate that, find a team member or a student that loves it and encourage them to go out and share your story. Tell our narrative. Express what we're doing for the workforce, what skills people are gaining here, the stories and lives that are being changed. Don't be shy, share it. And then the career ready, what it actually needs, well, recognize credentials. The only way to do that is to make sure that your employment community knows what it means when a student completes your course. Chances are they don't. If they come out and they're like, oh, I had a gain on the tape, they're like, okay. I have no idea what that means. They don't live in our world. And remember that the student didn't know what that meant either. You had to educate them. So you're going to need to educate the employer as well. Career readiness, it's not a checklist. It's a learner who walks into an interview with skills, with credentials, and with confidence. We're building it every day. Employers are actively hiring for those things. That's what they're looking for. The competency of the job task, that's good. And we can help with that. And that's where curriculum comes in. It's that practice skill within that context. It's mirroring. It's being able to answer test questions, to have discussion posts, to write essays, to stand up and give a speech, and ultimately to pass an assessment. But it's got to mirror that real world domain too. It's got to be able to sit across from you at a table and say, well, now that you've done this, tell me what the accomplishment was. Tell me what it means to you. Tell me how you're going to use it later. That's what I'm looking for. And I do that with every single student when they're done. And then I have them log on to their dashboard and say, now put in your success story, upload your new photo, because we're creating a diary. And you got to be able to look back at this and see where you come from. Because just a little view of your life that I've seen is pretty remarkable. I can't wait to see what happens next. That's where we're at. So, key takeaways. 1, listen first. Show up and listen. Show interest, show engagement, ask good questions, ask what a day in their life is like, ask why somebody would want a job like this, ask how many people come into the interview unprepared, and then ask what does that mean? What does that look like? What do you wish they had that they didn't show up with? And then commit. That is what my program will offer you. We may not be ready yet. I didn't have that curriculum when Tara asked about it. But we'll get ready. We're adult ed. We're nimble. We're responsive. We are different than any other type of education. Sometimes that's our biggest curse. But in the future economy, I think it's our biggest advantage. I put all my money on adult ed. The colleges, the university setting, the trades, they're changing. And they don't know what to do. You think we're in a panic? They're in a panic. We have direction. We're workforce. We know where we're headed. We've got to make sure that we're ready. So we listen first. We then use that information and design for that agility, because there's nobody built better for agility than we are. We respond. We're used to no budget. We're used to being poor and eating ramen. But we are. Credentials that count. If the employer doesn't know about it, educate them about it. Show them. Ask them questions. Put their logo on the credential. That helps. They love to see their name. They love to think that they're the most important in the community. So when you print out that certificate, or when it's a digital email badge, you best be putting their logo right next to it when they hire a student. They want to see it. And partner deeply. It is relationships. These are people that you would show up for when they need something, that you'll send people to, that when they're struggling, they come to you and they talk about it. You've got to build the relationship with them. It's beyond just a round table. It's beyond a tour. It's an actual relationship. So, the ready to teach curriculum, whatever it looks like for you, showing that employer-aligned instruction, it's good practice. But you don't have to build it alone. You've got however many people are in this room, however many people are at this conference, however many people are in your community. They're your team. You've got to let them know that they're on it. You can build it in no time. Literally no time. Especially with the tools and resources you have today. We have a course that teaches you how to build a course in 90 minutes. And I'm good at it now. I can do it in like 45. Hour at most. But start to finish, it doesn't take much time. So don't let that be the thing that gets in your way. Because I know time can be overwhelming in the programs. I know that if it's paperwork, reports, teaching, some of you are literally like one-person shops, and you're doing all of those things. And I'd be happy to help you be more efficient and more effective. But you could probably find 90 minutes if it's going to change your whole community. And that's what we're asking for today, is the 90-minute commitment. So start running. The workforce, it's not going to wait. That's not changing. But the workforce is changing. So every semester that you delay, curriculum alignment is a cohort of learners who graduate into a job market that's literally already moved on. It's like when you buy a new car and you drive it off the lot, and they say, yeah, it depreciates. The minute you leave the dealership, the value goes down, right? That's how curriculum is too. And we want to increase the value of it. So the tools, the data, the partnerships, they're available to you now. You can connect with us. I'm happy to help you. You can start just one conversation with an employer in your region. Gather that curriculum feedback and say, hey, I just need some feedback from you. Or I just want to take the tour. Or audit one of your programs. Choose one course to map against the current labor market. Identify the gaps that you can close right now. I know that you already think that something you're doing is outdated. I'm not fooled by not one of you. Because I know we're all there. I still have an update to run on my phone today that I should have done like 3 weeks ago. And they just kept saying, iPhone security, you should do this right away. I'm running rogue. I hope you know. Here's some of the tools that we offer. That's why contact information. My cards are up here as well, but we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Maybe. There we go. So questions, comments, or thoughts, feel free to address those now.
So kind of tell us about building the,
So kind of tell us about building a course through Connectable.
Yeah, so to build a course through Connectable, one, you can, either use the curriculum that's already available to you, or, it's not moving back. So basically, when you come in, you just go to your modules, you pick the title, and just one click, you'll actually add the type of content that you want. Whether it's adding an assignment, a discussion post, uploading a document, adding a video, or creating a quiz, putting a live session link so it can integrate with Zoom, Teams, Google, or a live person class. It'll take attendance and things for you based on that. It has a grade book so you can add point values or completion rates that you need for it and track that progress. When you're in a module, you just add all of the items that you need and hit save. So just as a comparison, I use Canvas a lot. To add an assignment in Canvas, to start a Canvas shell and then to add an assignment, it takes 7 clicks. For Connectable, it's 1 click. So it's just to save you time. It takes out the other kind of questions and thoughts, and it doesn't cause you to leave screens. So when you're building a module, if you have reading, you upload the reading. And then if you have discussion, you add the discussion. And I can show you a demo actually at our booth. This isn't my laptop, so it's just on PowerPoint. But I'm happy to show you there like what it actually looks like or how you would do it.
So we have a couple of trainings. That's something that we would like to do for all of our students. It doesn't matter which pathway they're in. We would like to incorporate a micro-credential in AI. Do you guys have that?
Yeah, so good question. So we actually have 6 levels of AI. Anybody taking the AI credential course in here? Anybody? So, no, you didn't either? Yeah, so we've had like numerous cohorts, so about I think 300 students that have completed the AI credential or micro credentials. There's different levels for different industries and different items that you're wanting to use. Tara, what's the title of the one that you're using? You got a grant for it, right? So I'm going to have Tara share that info. She actually just received a grant for that program specifically.
I believe it's AI, this is from AI for everyday use and working on, or life and work. Yeah.
And where did the grant come from?
Well, we haven't actually received it yet. We work for Dollar General.
They wrote for the Dollar General grant for that purpose. So, yeah, good. Other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
So if our program already uses Connectable, is all of this already available to us, or do we need to do things to make it connect?
So just like everything else with Connectable, there's only ever one fee, right? So you don't pay extra. So membership is all inclusive. You can use the attendance or the state federal reporting, or you can use the student information system or registration. I don't know what you're using. What program are you in?
NEO.
With NEO. Yeah. So you use the full student information system and contact management systems with registration. But you would just add the learning management system. We also, I they were talking to us too about like the professional development tracker, so that you can add your teacher observations and track the number of hours that the faculty had to.
So, from the YMCA, we're proud members of our connectable families. So we know our community well, got great training to provide. Our weakness and what we're working on is the employer connection. Could you say a little bit more about that, like how we get out there, create WIs?
Yeah, so one, I think you have a great opportunity. The YMCA Greater Indianapolis and a proud connectable member. Appreciate that. I personally was the chief volunteer officer for about 8 years of our local YMCA, so they're a special organization to me too. And with the Y, I think you're in a better advantage than a lot of our programs, because a lot of our programs, when you approach the employer, they're like, where are you from? You know, you know, Central 9 Career Center, that's where our sponsor is coming from today. They don't know what that means. But the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis, everybody's going to have heard of that before. So when you come in, you're able to lead with your brand, and many of those people need to first cultivate understanding of the brand. So that's where I would start, is I would actually be reaching out. I would look at what are the top 3 growing industries in Indianapolis, and I would hold a symposium where I would bring them in and talk about, you know, the benefits of sending students through the YMCA Adult Ed program and how employers can benefit from people that come from your program. I would invite them into one of your locations, let them physically come in, see where you're at, use your brand as your advantage. That's the biggest advice that I have for someone like you. My advice would be different depending on where you're at. So, but for you, that's where I'd start. Brand recognition. Yep.
Okay, let me make sure that I didn't miss any here on the Zoom. I can't really see them. So if you have questions, feel free to post them, and I can always refer back to them later.
Otherwise, folks, I really appreciate you coming today. I'll stick around if you want to talk or have other questions. Again, my cards are up here on either side. I hope you're having a good co-wave. It's a little bit different this year for me because I'm from Indiana, so being here in Indianapolis instead of Seattle or Nashville or Dallas or Atlanta or wherever else we've been. But what I do know for sure is New Orleans is like a second home for me. So I'm really excited for next year because we're going to New Orleans, right? So hopefully we'll see you back there. I also have a presentation on Wednesday that's a little bit different, and it is kind of talking about AI and strategic leadership. So that's one of the degrees that I have, so I'd love to talk to you about that Wednesday. It is bright and early at 8 a.m., so if you are excited and ready for AI discussions on strategic leadership, please come at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Otherwise, come see me at the booth too. I'd love to show you what we do. So again, we're connectable down in the vendor area. Good to see y'all. Thanks for having me.